Welcome to the Lean Out Your Business podcast, a show dedicated to helping entrepreneurs accelerate business growth and simplify success. I'm your host, Krista Grasso, and I've been working with businesses for more than 2 decades to help them lean out and optimize what's working while eliminating anything that's not adding value. So if you are ready to get more time back in your day, more profit in your business, and to do business differently, growing and scaling on your terms, let's dive into today's episode.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Lean Out Your Business podcast. We are officially in November, which means we've got 2 months left this year, and the new year will be here before we know it. So what I wanted to talk about in today's episode are a few things that you can do to set yourself up to end this year really successfully and to create the space for everything that you have planned going into next year. So I always talk about putting the no in November. I think it is such a great point in time to be really shifting and looking closely at where we are focusing our time, where we're focusing our resources, whether that be our financial resources or our team resources, and really making sure that we're clear on what we want to bring forward into the new year and what we really need to keep in the current year or completely reimagine. Now, you've heard me on the podcast talk about the technique called Chuck probably 1,000 times already, but I'm going to mention it one more time because this is such an incredibly valuable activity to make sure that you're getting really clear on what's actually working and what's not in your business. So you can go back and listen to any of the prior episodes on Chuck or just head to leanoutmethod.com/Chuck and grab the guide with all the details. But at a very high level, let me walk you through the 4 different categories and things that you want to consider. So as you're looking at the things you're currently doing in your business, whether it's where you and your team spend your time, whether it's the systems that you have in place and the tools that you have in place and how effective they are, whether it's the specific offers that you have in place in the way that you market and sell those. If you look at the core facets of everything that you do day in and day out to run your business and to generate profit and provide value in your business, you want to be running things through a series of questions to determine if you should cut them, if you should place them on hold, if you should change them, or if you should keep them as is. And in order for this to be really effective, it's helpful to know where you want to go next year. It's helpful to have a vision for the new year, to have goals for the new year, to understand your financial targets. When you look ahead and you know where you want to take things, then you want to take all these different things that you're doing in your business and consider, are you getting a good enough return on investment? Whether that's a time, a money, an energy investment, are you getting a good enough return? Is it aligned with where you want to go next year? Maybe it's working now. Maybe it's not really working that well right now. But when you look forward to the new year, is it something that's still even necessary? And if it is still necessary, is it working optimally the way that you want it to? Or are there some changes and things that you can do to improve upon it and make it any better? Is it fulfilling? Is this something that you actually still enjoy doing? And if it's something that you don't enjoy doing, is it something that's really necessary in the business? If it's not, then I'd say just cut it. But if you're like, I don't really like it, but it's something that the clients get a lot of value from, or it works really well, then who on your team could pick that up? Or maybe it will help inform a strategic hiring plan for your team. And then finally, investment. What are those things that you're doing that maybe you don't see an immediate return on investment in, but you know that you will over time? Things like networking and relationship building. Sometimes things like SEO, investing in putting like SEO and keywords in some of the stuff you put on your website, right? You don't always see an immediate return on that, but you will over time. So Chuck, to me, is just truly one of the most valuable things that I think you can do in your business on a recurring basis, which is why I talk about it so often. But as we're at this pivotal point in the year where we're trying to finish what we're doing this year, as we're trying to get clear on what we want to do next year, I think that Chuck can help us do a few things. Make sure we're not investing any time and resources this year in things that we shouldn't. And make sure, most importantly, that we're clearing out all of the things that we don't need to be doing as we go into the new year, so we have the space for the things that we want to start doing. You will notice in the Chuck technique, all we're doing is analyzing the things you currently have. We're not actually adding anything new. And that's really intentional because I think we need to take that very objective look at everything that you're currently doing to analyze it first. And then once you're clear on the things that you want to add, sometimes you need to go back through and do another pass. Maybe you didn't cut enough things. Maybe you didn't put enough things on hold. And you look at all the things you want to do next year and you're like, this is great. It's amazing. And I would need to hire 2 more people in order to be able to do this practically. And right now I only have the budget for 1, or I don't have the budget for any. So Chuck is one of those techniques that I think can be really valuable to do yourself and with your team to give yourself some of that clarity and to create some of that space. So that is one facet of things that you can do for both this year and next year. Now, the next thing that I always think about in November is not just putting the no in November and looking at what you can say no to and create space for, but also November to me starts to have us step into that feeling of possibility. This is where we're getting so close to the beginning of the new year. We're getting close to the holidays. We're getting close to a break in our normal patterns and routines because most businesses take some time off for the holidays, regardless of what you celebrate. And if nothing else, the entire world is kind of on a different cadence in a different pace for the holidays. And so with all of that happening, I find that we end up stepping into this place where we're envisioning more. Even if we're not doing a formal visioning exercise, which I highly recommend that you do, we tend to just naturally step into a place of imagining something better, imagining something bigger, imagining something more aligned, imagining something that maybe we wanted this year and didn't get to. And hopefully you're stepping into that space from a place of positivity and possibility as opposed to negativity and possibility like, here we go again. I didn't end up achieving this year. I guess I'll put it on my list for next year, but I'm probably not going to achieve it next year either, right? You don't want to be going at it from that perspective. That is probably not going to get you there. But that being said, hopefully you're starting to feel that excitement, that draw towards these things that you really want to see, these visions, these dreams, these things that feel really important to you and really exciting to you as you go into the new year. Well, what I see happen with a lot of people is 2 things. Let's assume you're in that place where you're excited. You're excited about a lot of really interesting things that you want to be pursuing in the new year, whether they're new things or whether they're scaling something you already have, which is always what I recommend. You're in that place of, I cannot wait to see how successful I can make this, to see how much I can transform this. Just that very new and exciting energy. Well, when people are in this place, one of 2 things ends up happening. The first is they have the ideas, but they do not invest in what needs to happen to make those ideas a reality. So things end up falling flat. They end up getting started based on pure momentum and happiness and excitement and kind of passion. And then once that starts to fade, they end up losing it and it comes crashing down pretty quickly because they did not put the plans in place. They did not connect that vision and that dream and those possibilities down to the practical steps that are going to actually get them there. And as visionaries, right, visionaries like to envision. They don't necessarily love to plan or map out details or things. And that's where having the right team to support you, having the right strategist to support you, right? You want to be getting someone, whether it's someone on your existing team or someone outside your team who can partner with you to look at how to actually make that a reality. So that way you're not just filled with excitement now only to have it come crashing down a month or 2 into the new year, but you actually are filled with excitement now and you are creating the momentum to be able to do it in the new year and to be able to do it really successfully. So that's the first scenario that I see. The second scenario that I see is maybe you do have that excitement, that vision, all of the things, and you actually have a plan that you're pretty confident in. You've got something mapped out pretty well. You say, I think we can actually do this. And that's definitely a better place to be. Well, what I see happening sometimes is that plan sounds good in theory, but the plan was overambitious. And what's going to end up happening is it's going to create you or your team a lot of overwork, a lot of stress, a very unsustainable pace to get there. And what usually ends up happening when that happens is you might have a plan, which is great, but it's usually not a capacity-based plan. And so a capacity-based plan is one where you look really strategically ahead and you say, here's how much I want to work in the new year. Here's where I want to be spending my time. Personally, I want to be focused on these things. Ideally, your zone of genius things or your legacy work, right? As opposed to all the piddly day-to-day stuff that you definitely want to be getting yourself out of. But then looking at your team as well and looking at who are the resources that I need to support me? Who are the people that I need, the expertise, the skill? What's their availability? What's their level of capability? Do I need to invest in training or something for them to be able to step up and be able to do what I need them to do? What about systems? What about automations? Do you have the right operational and infrastructure-based foundation in place to support everything that you want to do? It's great that you've got a vision, maybe even great that you've got a plan to get there, but is that plan feasible? Is it doable? And is it capacity based where you have actually considered what is this really going to take to get there? Do we have the right resources, the right people, the right technology, the right tools, the right automations, the right skill, the right knowledge, right? All of those different facets that go into it to make it happen. And here's the most important piece. Have we left space for the unknowns, for unknown unknowns, things that we could never possibly see coming that are going to crop up? Because we all know that that happens all the time. Have we created the space for things that we think might take a certain amount of time that actually take longer? And so, first of all, get really clear on what you want next year to look like. Do the chuck activity to look at the things that you can clear out of the way. Make sure and double check and maybe do a second pass at chuck to clear more things out of the way if you need to, if those goals and the visions and the things that you have planned for next year are bigger than the capacity that you have. But then really get practical. I know it is not as much fun for a visionary to do, but if you want that to be a reality, you do want to look at what's it realistically going to take in order to do this next year. And another thing you hear me talk about all the time on the podcast is SPSTI, the right strategy, planning, systems, team, and insight. And so make sure that you've got those right operational, foundational elements in place to be able to support you. Do you have the right strategies to actually connect that vision down to day to day? Do you have the right planning in place so you are clear on what needs to happen, both from a back end perspective, but also from a marketing and a sales and a front end perspective? Do you have that holistic viewpoint of how you are going to be generating revenue and running your business throughout the year? Do you have the right systems and automations? Are you using things like AI to simplify things, to streamline things, to not be paying for people to do something manually or doing something at all that doesn't need to be done or doesn't need to be done by a person? Right? Do you have the right team? And is that team skilled and equipped and ready to support you in the way that you need them to in the new year? If you need to invest in training and up-leveling for your team, check out my new Strategic Ops Institute because we're doing that. The time of this episode release, I am actually kicking off my Chief Strategy and Operating Officer certification tonight, depending on when you're listening to this. And I have my Entrepreneurial Project Manager certification kicking off right behind it. So definitely go check those out. You can go to strategicopsinstitute.com/SOL, SOL for strategy and operations leader. And if you go to strategicopsinstitute.com/SOL, you can get all the details on the two certifications and either look at how I can help you hire someone if you don't already have that person today, or how I could train and mentor and certify someone that you already have on your team. And if you yourself want to be certified, you'll find all the details there as well. So whether you send them through me, whether you send them somewhere else, look at how can you up-level the people that you have on your team who are really great in certain respects, but who you know need some extra development, maybe some extra mentoring, or even just some extra skills in order to be able to take your business to the next level. Do the same for yourself as well. And then finally, insights. Do you know what you're measuring, right? If you know what your vision is, your goals are, your financial targets are, do you have the right measures in place from both a leading and a lagging perspective? So you know if you're on track throughout the year. So you know what's working and what to do more of and double down on so that you can get that scalable and sustainable growth, or the things that you need to keep chucking and leaning out and letting go of, and the things that you want to be cutting or putting on hold or reimagining throughout the year, right? So look at SPSTI, look at how to make that beautiful, incredible vision that you have a reality as you go into next year, and leverage this month for, I think, that really pivotal point that it is. It's the place to be looking ahead and thinking about all of the possibility, and to be putting the things in place now that will make it an actual probability, not just a possibility, while also making sure that you're saying no, you're creating space, and that you're leveraging these last couple months of the year to be doing that. Now, final thing that I will mention is it is the last couple months of the year. It's kind of not 2 full months. It's because of the holidays and because of everything else. It's like almost like a month and a half, 2 months. And so things are a little condensed. Things are a little scrunched, but there's also a lot of opportunity by the end of the year, right? People are thinking ahead to the new year. They're thinking about goals. They're thinking about the things that they want. So as you look at what you're trying to sell before the end of this year, make sure that you're tapping into the headspace of where your current clients are. You might not change what you're selling, but you might change how you're positioning it a little bit. I know for me personally, I always love to do specials for Small Business Saturday. I will be doing them again this year. Small Business Saturday is the only time in the year that you can book a VIP strategy day with me. I always open up a few for people who want to do strategic planning at the end of the year. I'm going to be doing something really special this year as well, and I'm going to be opening up strategic planning sessions with people who are a part of my Chief Strategy and Operating Officer certification. So if you can't find space with me or don't want to make the investment in working with me, you can invest in people who have I personally trained for a fraction of that investment. So I'm really excited to be introducing that and doing something a little fun and different there this year. But think yourself about whether you do promotions for Black Friday or Cyber Monday or Small Business Saturday like I do. To me, I always love Small Business Saturday because I work with business owners specifically, right? And so think about what can you be doing during that kind of last push of the year where everyone's in the buying kind of spirit and everyone's naturally thinking ahead to all the things that they want in the new year. So don't count the end of the year out. I know a lot of people take their foot off the gas quite a bit at the end of the year, and that's fine to do from a celebration and giving yourself space, spending time with family, with friends, all of those sorts of things. But with some strategy and some intention, you can actually make the last couple months of the year some of your absolute most profitable. Really great thing to do too if you have some stuff that you're going to be retiring, new pricing updates that you're going to be, doing in the new year, kind of giving people a last chance to invest before prices go up. There is a lot that you can do to really get yourself ready for success and scale in the new year while finishing out this year really strong, really successful, and really profitable. So I hope you got a lot of value out of this episode. You can probably hear in my voice, I'm still a little under the weather. I'm coming around here. So thanks for bearing with me with my scratchy voice and all. And I will be back with you again next week.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. If you have not yet taken our scalability assessment, I invite you to head to leanoutmethod.com/assessment and take our interactive assessment that's going to help you look at how simple, how sustainable, and how scalable your business currently is. It includes personalized recommendations of where to focus next to get your time back, to increase your impact, increase your profits, and ultimately step into your rich, fulfilled life. And finally, we'd love to see you inside our signature program, Simplify to Scale. You can head to leanoutmethod.com/ops to find all of the details on how we can help you uplevel your operations and get out of the day-to-day of your business.